Hello and welcome to News Central. Now, I am Lekon Obanjo. The top stories at this hour. Protesters accuse Primary Election Committee of partiality in Ondo State, calls for cancellation. President Tinubu to open African Counter-Terrorism Summit on Monday. Hundreds protest in Niger as they call for immediate exit of US military. Details to come your way shortly. Let's begin with updates on the All Progressives Congress governorship primary in Ondo State. Protesters have accused the All Progressives Congress APC chairman of the 7-man primary election committee, Usman Ododo, set up to conduct the shadow poll in Ondo State of a predetermined motive to destabilize the party's primary election of the state. Addressing newsmen at the Secretariat, the protesters said aspirants were not given equal opportunities of being voted for by party members at the designated centers. They added that the election didn't take place in most of the state, hence they are called to cancel the primaries.
My ward is Ward 11 on the West. No membership register, no electoral officer, no accreditation, nothing. When people queue up to vote, people we believe who are loyal to Mr. Governor came there to disrupt whatever they were doing there. Despite the fact that there was no electoral officer or whatever, they were there to pursue people. Somebody that I was assisting in the past threatened me with gun. The security of this state is at stake right now. Believe me, yes. I'm telling you, yes. These guys want to set the state on fire. Yes. They want a repeat of 1983. You see, if it was in a sane country like where I came from, Ododo by now should be in jail. Yes.
We waited till 4 p.m. in every location. There was no materials at all. Nobody to even show up. They only went ahead to write what did they call it? The result. The results were written in an hotel, and then they have murdered sleep. They cannot even show out. They can't even come out today for anything again.
We are aware that people are ventilating their anger due to the process of the chartered primary that was conducted in Ondo State, and we want to tell our people that the leadership are holding meetings, and we are aware. I want to assure them that what they have done is highly unacceptable to the leadership and members of.
In the meantime, the chairman of the Primary Election Committee, Governor Usman Ododo of Kogi State, had announced that polls will be conducted in all 13 wards of Okitipupa local government area of the state by 12 noon today. In a statement he signed, the governor said this was the decision of the Primary Election Committee, having received reports of the primary election from the 203 wards in the 18 local governments of Ondo State. There were reports that the exercise did not hold in the local governments due to late arrival of materials and personnel as a result of logistics challenges. And at this point, joining us on the news to talk more about this is the National Youth Wing of the APC delegation, Lawal Iyola. Lawal, thank you so much for joining us on the news.
It's a pleasure to be here.
So, Lawal, it's quite interesting what is playing out in Ondo State right now. What's your assessment of the APC party primaries? Some people have alleged that the results were pre-written while no election was held in any of the wards. What's your take?
Yeah, as a member of the All Progressive Congress and as a youth and an aspirant in the 2022 primaries, Federal House of Representatives, Akoko Southwest Southeast local government, what more I can say is that there is an electoral committee that is appointed to get this job done. And every one of them were being dispersed to every local government they have been posted on to go and supervise. And as an observer of the APC National Youth Wing, yesterday, I was able to cover some local government and to hear from people. And I think while getting to some centers, they told me it has been heard. Some people have gone and all like that. And all what I can just say right now is that if there is any invariance, if there's anything that is getting people disturbed, the party has an electoral appeal committee that can be adhered to with their evidence and all like that, and how it can be cautioned and it can be visited to check properly what has happened in Ondo State. Thank you, sir.
Lawal, we just need to categorically confirm 203 wards. You said you covered some wards. If you are to count, how many of the wards would you say elections were held? And how many of the wards would you say elections were not held? Because the general consensus by most especially the aggrieved members of the party is that no election was held in all the 203 wards. So I need your categorical statement. This is what we need to understand.
We could see that from Idonre local government yesterday, while I was going on observation, we could see there was some argument between a two faction of a candidate, whereby we are yet to really identify who they are. And the arguments happen on the process of exercising the right to vote for their various candidates. And the video is on the social media circulating now. Maybe there was an argument in the local government which has shown that election was held at that particular local government. I was at Akura South yesterday with the team, with the video to see what was happening, so we can give a proper report back to the party what has happened in Ondo State. I was at Akura North yesterday with the team, with videos of whereby election happens in some work. Because when we look at Akure South generally, is a very large local government, and we realize that there are some specific wards that has been placed for people to go and do and exercise the right as a party member to vote for their candidates. And till now, we are compiling the investigation that of which we will receive from the observers team to have our valid evidence of how the election have gone in other local governments as at now. And we see that yesterday in Okitikupa 13 wards, it was suspended, okay, so that they can be properly organized to have their election for the primary this morning. We could see that in Akure North as well, there are some places that the election was not being able to hold yesterday, whereby they have to suspend it, and I believe that today it has been carried out.
So you cannot categorically confirm if the election has been redone or reconducted in Okitipupa, because we heard that should be done as at 12 noon today. So has it been done? Yeah, I'm still expecting the other team from Okitipupa to arrive to give me the report. Okay, so let's move on. Let's move on. Let's move on. Now we see some sort of power play among top members of the APC in Ondo State, with the Kogi State Governor, that is Usman Ododo, chairing the election committee. Now, are you disturbed about the decision and the choice of the party in Ondo's governorship election? Because it's been said that some powers within the party want a particular candidate to represent the party in the gubernatorial election that will be coming up. So are you bothered about what the decision and the choice of the leadership of the party is in the state?
I wouldn't want to talk much about that, because as we can see, we have 16 gubernatorial aspirants that got the nomination form, and they were actually being screened by the national party for them to go into this election process, to go and contest as an aspirant under the leadership of the All Progressive Congress, whereby there was a legal team, there was an appeal team, and there is a national electoral committee that was led, that was provided to be led by the governor of Kogi State, Alhaji Usman Ododo. He was with us yesterday to address all the electoral committee and all the observers. And the instruction given to everybody yesterday is for everybody to go to their wards. Whereby there were buses, they were being mobilized for everybody to go to their ward. So that's why I said, as of now, I cannot really say this is what happened unless the other team members arrive here to give me the report of what happened in other wards. Thank you, sir.
Okay, finally, before I let you go, Lawal, now we've seen protesters, most especially from the aggrieved members of the party, coming out to say that these primaries should be cancelled and a new one should be reconstituted. Now, should the Kogi State governor be removed and the election committee dissolved to give way for the emergence of another committee to conduct fresh primaries just to appease these members that are aggrieved and see that who is being chosen reflects the true conscience and the choice of the party members in the state?
Thank you. I think at this point in time we are, if there's any discrepancy or if there's anything that is not really aligning with what has happened yesterday, the protesters have the right to submit it to the national quarters of the legal committee to check if this process should continue or the winner of this election should be announced as the winner of this primary. If there's anything some people has gathered as an electorate of the party that they are not really satisfied with, I think by now the legal committee can open the space for them to submit their dissatisfaction towards this present election, and it can be visited for them to do the right thing at the right time before it's been announced. Thank you.
Lawal Yola, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us. Away from Ondo State now, the founder of the new Niger People's Party, Boniface Anyabonam, said Rabiu Kwankwaso, former governor of Kano State, is destroying the party. In 2023, NNPP's Board of Trustees suspended Kwankwaso, who was its presidential candidate in the last elections, over allegations of anti-party activities. However, another faction of the party loyal to the former governor of Kano reversed the suspension. Kwankwaso was subsequently expelled from the party after he failed to appear before the disciplinary committee set up to probe allegations of anti-party activities against him. Earlier, we were joined on the news by Mohammed Abdullahi, public relations analyst, to discuss this.
Being a presidential candidate, polling more than 1 million votes. In fact, the only candidate in the last general elections that polled over 1 million votes in a singular state. No other presidential candidate did that. Not even the presidential candidate, I mean the winning party's candidate, I mean the president as of now, did that. So he became like a hot cake, you know, being courted by so many other parties, and including even the opposition and even the leading party, APC. And so this did not sit down well with NNPP loyalists, you understand, particularly the founding members who felt he's using his influence, you know, to overshadow the party's belief and resolve, you understand. But to some extent, you might not blame him because, you know, that's what politics is all about. Most times, it's all about self-interest, even before the party interest, before even the masses' interest. So, and so many other things makes Engineer Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso a very powerful man within the party, even though he might not be the founding member of the party, but he's so powerful because that state Kano, which he controls, produces a lot of giant strides.
At this time, we go on a short break. News Now will continue shortly. Do stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. We talk security now. President Bola Tinubu is set to open the African Counter-Terrorism Summit in Abuja. In a statement released by his special advisor on media and publicity, Ajuri Ngalale, President Tinubu will on Monday welcome heads of state, government officials, and representatives from international organizations who will be converging on Abuja for this crucial summit. According to the statement, the objective of the summit is to strengthen cooperation and redefine the global response to terrorism in Africa. The summit aims to foster African-led solutions to the complex challenges posed by terrorism. Ngalale noted that the summit will provide a platform to review the nature and severity of the threat of terrorism on the continent and to agree on concrete strategic priorities and measures to address the scourge. Now, stakeholders in Nigeria have called for the integration of women and persons living with disabilities in the efforts to curb the rising insecurity in Nigeria's northwest region. This was as they converged in Abuja, reviewing the current situation, saying women can play a key role in the process, which has been proven in the past to bring results. Amadin Uyi reports.
In recent times, Nigeria's northwest region has become a flashpoint for insecurity, banditry, and kidnappings. While this has become a worrisome trend, stakeholders here converge on the nation's capital, Abuja, to discuss on ways of reducing this trend.
We realize that in the last 10 years, the last decade, the incidence of mass atrocities across the northwest has actually spiked. Northwest that used to be at the bottom in the ranking in terms of incidents of mass atrocity has suddenly become at the top in the last decade. And this is not far from the metasizing issues of insecurity we are having across the country, including banditry and the rest of them. And so we have thought, how do we begin to get the community to take ownership of their own security? How do we build their capacity? How do we get everybody in the region to work together to take ownership of their own security? And that is what gave birth to the idea of the project we started last year.
They also add that the need to involve women and persons living with disabilities in the peace-building process is key to achieving tangible results.
Key things we set out to achieve was to see that we have more women involved in this peace-building process in the region, and I think we have really achieved that. Now we see more women being in the discussion table in terms of how to provide solutions to the insecurity challenge in the region. And the other thing we set out to achieve was to build that trust between the community and the law enforcement agents, because the law enforcement agents have been talking about them not getting the required information they need to deal with these issues.
When you're looking at women participation in peace, it is the most important thing. That is the gap that we are having in the society now, because we think peace is coming from the masculine angle. Peace is feminine, because every man that becomes man today comes from a home. Is a product of a woman. So if the mother is not peaceful, the upbringing is faulty, then which means that man out there can never be peaceful.
The project is being conducted by international human rights organization, Global Rights, and has called for a community-led approach to achieving peace and ending insecurity. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadin Uyi.
Still talking security, residents of Plateau State have called on stakeholders in and outside the state to embark on meaningful efforts to end recurrent attacks in the affected areas. The call is coming 24 hours after unconfirmed number of people were feared dead in a renewed attack by suspected militias in Bokos and Mangu local government areas of Plateau State. News Central's Chizoba Ayonwe completes the reports.
It is barely 1 week after 3 people lost their lives and 3 others sustained various degrees of injuries in Bokos and Mango Council areas of Plateau State following attacks carried out by suspected Fulani militias. These incessant attacks are believed to be indicative of the unabated rise in criminality in the society.
How many panels of inquiry have we had on the Plateau crisis? And none of these panels have been implemented. And you ask yourself, why? Is there none of these panels that has brought a solution to the crisis on the Plateau?
You can imagine parents sending their children to school, and then all you receive is like the corpse of your children. It's so painful. And then not being able to focus, not knowing what the future holds for you.
Several arrests have been made. That is the killer Fulani headsmen. Several arrests have been made. What happens to those arrests? What happens to those people?
For these residents who constantly feel the brunt of these attacks, they say government, security agencies, and indeed other stakeholders have an urgent responsibility to save Plateau from further attacks.
I feel government should really give their heart into this issue. They should really look into what really is going on. I know these people can be apprehended. They should put in more efforts, whatever they can do to just get these people and bring them to book.
Government should try and set up a very strong vigilante group made up of the locals. And these locals must be well equipped and funded.
If the government is ready to stop this thing, they must be following these people that are being mentioned or these people that have been arrested and to ensure that they are brought to book.
In a telephone interview, Media Officer of Operation Safe Haven, Major Samson Zakom, said calm has been restored to the affected areas, adding that the commander of Operation Safe Haven, Major General Abdusalam Abubakar, has visited the affected areas for an on-the-spot assessment of the incidents. In Jos for News Central, Chizoba Anyuwi.
We also tell you that Abia State Police Command on Sunday paraded the principal suspect in the murder of a student of Abia State University, Uturu, some weeks back. The police also paraded some other crime suspects arrested for various offenses across the state. News Central's Chinwe reports.
From January to date, a total of 108 criminal suspects arrested by the Abia State Command, majorly made up of young people, is enough to prick the mind of every patriotic citizen. Abia State Police Command has in the last 4 months been inundated with unprecedented number of murder cases, among others. Only in the last 1 month, there have been about 4 homicide cases with people in their 20s neck deep in all. While the command is still investigating the recent cases, it has concluded investigations on the murder of one student of Abia State University, Uturu, by a fellow student and ready to prosecute the suspect.
The suspect, identified as Emmanuel Victor, has confessed to the crime. He is currently in lawful custody and will be charged to court. This is the highlight of our briefing today.
The suspect, on his part, wants to be given a second chance at life.
The member of another cause group that came to take a phone from us. So after we finished talking and we told them that they should come later in the day to take the phone, one of Emmanuel's members brought out his gun and shoot at us. So he escalated. Then I shot Emmanuel.
The Commissioner of Police, Kenechukwu Onwemele, also assured the public of the command's commitment to seeing that nothing is hidden about the officer who shot an Aba businessman, resulting to his death.
But I want to assure the public that the police under the current IG and this command will not cover or shield anybody that has done something that is unprofessional, no matter how little, let alone if it results in somebody's death.
Police Public Relations Officer Maureen Chinaka told journalists that the command had so many breakthroughs and recovered exhibits within the period under review.
In the recent past, the command has achieved significant milestones in curtailing incidents of armed robbery, kidnapping, and vandalism of government property, child trafficking, rape, and arson. During the period, several suspects were arrested and various exhibits recovered.
The families will need to play a lot of roles to set their children straight and make sure that they turn out good citizens of the country. In Omaha News Central, Chinwe Ugele.
Away from security matters now to this alleged fraud story. Now, a chieftain of the All Progressives Congress, Barrister Jesutega Onokpase, has called out the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission against what they call the unjust treatment of former Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello. Former Governor Bello has been under scrutiny recently with allegations swirling around him. However, the APC chieftain on Sunday argued that his rights are being trampled upon. He stressed that it is deeply troubling to see law enforcement agencies disregarding legal processes, as former Governor Bello had obtained a court order protecting him from arrest or prosecution by the EFCC. Barrister Nokpase insisted that any disputes over legal matters should be resolved through proper channels and not through what they call lawlessness and brigandage. He emphasized that Yahaya Bello is a citizen and former governor, and he deserves fair treatment and respect for the rule of law.
Now, as far as we are aware, former Governor Bello had obtained a court order restraining the EFCC from arraigning or prosecuting him. And we state categorically that he was perfectly entitled in law to place reliance on the protection of the law. Indeed, the same law which binds absolutely all of us in a civilized society. We unequivocally condemn this witch hunt against a citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and a former governor of one of the states of this country. No one is condoning corruption. If you have a case of corruption against anybody, by all means, prosecute them. But the prosecution will be done according to law. We enjoin all well-meaning citizens of this great country to repudiate these excesses. Indeed, we call on all sitting governors and former governors to stand against this utter travesty. Today it may be the turn of Yahaya Bello. Well, tomorrow it might be the turn of any one of us.
Looking at other stories now, agricultural experts in Nigeria have called for the adoption of agroecology and climate-smart farming practices in the country. This was during a summit on agroecology and public-private partnership on agroecology, where they appraised its benefits on farming in the country and its expected impact on the nation's food security objectives. Amadin Uyi tells us more.
It was a gathering of agricultural experts, funders, and stakeholders. The Summit on Agroecology and Public-Private Partnership on Agroecology was organized by the Action Aid Nigeria and X-rayed benefits, including the possible impact agroecology will have on the nation's agricultural sector and food security objectives.
It is our hope that this Summit on Agroecology and Public-Private Partnership on Agroecology will provide the direction for increased quantity and quality of public financing for agroecology towards increased government political budget commitments and program implementation. Not just commitments, but prioritization of the allocation, budgetary allocation increase and implementation.
This summit will create some level of awareness and be a platform to strategize on how to go about the implementation of the strategic partnerships for agroecology and climate justice.
Stakeholders say agroecology can help mitigate the effects of climate change and fight food insecurity in the country.
We see actually agroecology to be a really important tool in creating climate change resilience and also restoring soil fertility, which will be important to fight the food security situation in Nigeria at the moment.
Through agroecology budget monitoring, tracking, and advocacy towards the expansion of fiscal spaces, rights holders will significantly benefit from budget increases and allocations in agroecology, that's in agriculture in general.
They also add that they are optimistic that the summit will create enough awareness on the benefits of agroecology, especially its expected impact on the nation's agricultural sector.
We hope that this will increase the implementation of agroecology in Nigeria and West Africa, enable the preservation and promotion of indigenous seedlings and livestock for agroecology and agrobiodiversity.
For those in attendance, Agroecology can help farmers adopt climate-smart agriculture. This will help mitigate the effects of climate change on food and livestock farming practiced by millions of rural farmers. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadin Uyi.
In the meantime, Nigerians are experiencing the worst food inflation in decades amidst the fluctuations of the naira, insufficient domestic agricultural production, and an over-reliance on expensive imported food. To help alleviate the hardship, Lagos Food Bank, a non-profit organization, has been giving out food to the vulnerable in the society. News Central's Bettina Nwili reports.
Inflation and slow growth have caused the number of impoverished Nigerians to rise from 89.8 million at the beginning of 2023 to 104 million, according to the World Bank's most recent Nigeria Development Update report. The United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, has warned that at least 26.5 million Nigerians living in the states of Borno, Sokoto, and Zamfara, as well as the Federal Capital Territory, may face a food crisis between June and August.
60% of our population spend their income on food, and at least even more than 60% of their income on food, and we seeing that the economy, there's food inflation, there's drug inflation, there is high cost of living, and it's pushing a whole lot of people into multidimensional poverty. There's a saying that goes that once hunger is taken out of the poverty chain, what is left to be dealt with is infinitesimal. And what that means is that, let's deal with the problem of hunger, and every aspect of the poverty chain, of course, will take care of itself.
So we are finding new ways to come in place to make sure that no one goes to bed hungry, and we're able to achieve the sustainable development goals and also end hunger in Nigeria in total.
Nationwide mass protests have taken place, including in the states of Niger, Kano, Kogi, and Ibadan, to demand immediate interventions to address the rising cost of living. Without further action, there are fears that food inflation could spark civil unrest. Businesses have expressed concern about a spate of looting of trucks conveying food and raw materials to markets.
Now, seeing that we had this food shortage issue in the country, and there's an organization who is passionate about ensuring that people in rural communities get access to food, we thought this was a win-win situation for us. So we could partner to come help them package food, distribute food, and even interact with the beneficiaries. So it was an easy decision to make, support what is being done around the country, and then in our own way, tie it to what we believe in the bank, which is to lift participation through our employee volunteering scheme.
Àwọn ọmọ tí wọ́n náà wọ́n ara àánú gbà. Ṣé rí àwọn food kí tán fún wa lóúnjẹ á dáa fún wọn. Òǹgbẹ ò ní gbẹ wọ́n. Ọmọ wọn kò ní sánkú mọ́ wọn lọ́wọ́. Ọmọ tiwa náà ò ní sánkú mọ́ wa lọ́wọ́ o. Ṣé rí oúnjẹ tí wọ́n fún wa yìí ó dùn mọ́ wa gan-an tọ́pọ̀lọpọ̀. Wọ́n ṣe gan-an ni. Olúwa máa pèsè fún wọn o.
According to the World Food Programme, about 26.5 million people across Nigeria are projected to face acute hunger in 2024. To avert this looming threat, all efforts need to be focused on boosting sustainable food security and equitable access to food resources throughout Nigeria. In Lagos, for News Central, Bettina Nwili.
Coming up on the news, hundreds protest in Niger as they call for immediate exit of US military. We'll bring you details in a short while. Don't go away. Nice to know you're still there. The news continues in West Africa, where hundreds of people protested on Sunday against the U.S. troop presence in military-ruled Niger, where a delegation from Washington is expected within days to arrange an orderly withdrawal. The United States had on Friday agreed to withdraw its more than 1,000 soldiers from the African nation where Washington built a $100 million base to fly a fleet of drones. The demonstration in the northern desert town of Agadez, home to a U.S. airbase, was called by a group of 24 civil society associations that have backed the regime since last year's coup. Last month, the Nigerian military announced it was breaking off a defense agreement with the United States, claiming it had been imposed and the U.S. troop presence was illegal. We also tell you that the United Nations Libya mission has urged authorities in the eastern part of the country to investigate the death of an activist who had been in detention since last year. Siraj Dugman died while in custody at Rajma military camp in Rajma town, about 27 kilometers east of Benghazi. The mission said it was deeply saddened and called on authorities to conduct a transparent and independent investigation into his death. Benghazi's Internal Security Agency said in a statement that Dugman died after he fell on his head while climbing sewage pipes in an attempt to escape from a bathroom window on Friday morning. From other continents, we'll tell you that hundreds of protesters have gathered outside the American Consulate in Casablanca, Morocco, to express their solidarity with the Palestinian people. One of the protesters said that the genocide is a direct consequence of the assistance that the Americans have been providing to the Zionist entity for years.
On estime que ce génocide est une conséquence directe de l'aide que les Américains apportent à l'antiterrorisme depuis des années. Là, on assiste vraiment à une complicité absolument limpide de ce que les Américains apportent comme logistique, comme financement, comme veto, comme armée, comme espionnage à l'antiterrorisme. C'est-à-dire que le génocide... Bref. Donc on avait notre lettre. Notre lettre, on n'a pas pu la remettre. On va la remettre d'une autre façon. Je pense que tout le monde sait maintenant ce qu'on voulait dire aux États-Unis. Je crois que le monde entier sait ce qu'on reproche aux États-Unis. Notre lettre vient appuyer ce que pensent les Marocains, indépendamment de ce que vous voyez de la part de notre gouvernement, de l'Mrzen, de tout ce qu'on a ici. Indépendamment, le peuple est avec la Palestine.
Meanwhile, Israelis and family members of hostages held by Hamas in the Gaza Strip have protested in Tel Aviv, calling for the resignation of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Hamas took around 250 hostages during its unprecedented attack on southern Israel on October 7. Israel believes that 129 remain in Gaza, including 34 who are presumed dead. Around 100 were released during a ceasefire in November.
I have no words about what's going on here, and in my worst dream, I couldn't imagine that Jews and Israelis will do what we are doing now in the Gaza Strip and in the West Bank, and I'm calling the world to help us against us.
Well, I think the situation in Israel is such that we need a change. We need Bibi to go because he is a disaster for Israel, economically and especially safety of the population in Israel. At this time he has to go because it's the only beginning of solution to get Israel back to its safe mode.
ואנחנו לא יכולים לחגוג כל עוד לא הבית. בלי חטופים אין חירות, בלי חטופים לא תהיה פה מדינה. אני מצפה מכולם, מראש הממשלה שלי, שיעשה הכל כדי להחזיר אותם הביתה. הכל.
We still have business and sports stories for you, but that will be after the short timeout. Don't go away. In business, Nigeria's once booming real estate sector is facing a slowdown due to the current economic downturn. Soaring inflation rates and economic uncertainty are dampening consumer confidence, making potential buyers hesitant to invest. Real estate developers say they are struggling with rising construction costs, making it difficult to initiate new projects. Reports indicate that the cost of building a house has skyrocketed, pricing out many middle and low-income earners from the housing market. Additionally, the lack of affordable housing options is a growing concern, with many Nigerians facing challenges finding suitable accommodation amidst increasing rental prices. As Nigeria navigates through these turbulent economic times, stakeholders in the real estate industry are calling for urgent measures to address these issues and revitalize the market. Earlier, we were joined by real estate developer Olumide Ayetemimowa to discuss the challenges facing the real estate sector.
When the trust between the trust and confidence in the business environment right now is very, very low. So we need to work on that personally, and generally the whole country needs to come together on that. But in the real estate sector, one other thing that's very strenuous is the flexibility of acquisition. For you to buy a property, for you to build a property, for you to get the needed materials for your property, all these things are very, very tedious. And also, if we are in a place where we build our system to be formidable enough, whereby the financial institution could give credit facilities for asset owners.
Talking sports now, in the Stuttgart Open's WTA event on Sunday, fourth-seeded Lena Rybakina of Kazakhstan emerged victorious over Ukrainian Marta Kostyuk in straight sets. Rybakina, the 2022 Wimbledon champion, secured a 6-2, 6-2 win in just ends, which included securing the last two titles. Similarly, Kostyuk navigated past top 10 opponents Zheng Qingbang, Coco Gauff, and Marketa Vondrousova to reach the final. Now, Bayern Munich Supporters Foundation announced on Sunday plans to erect a statue outside the Allianz Arena in honor of the late German football legend Franz Beckenbauer. Widely regarded as one of the greatest players of all time, Beckenbauer passed away in January at the age of 78. The statue, which will join that of former teammate Gerd Müller, will be cast on bronze and stand 2.7 meters tall, 1.5 times Beckenbauer's actual size. Born in Munich, Beckenbauer enjoyed a remarkable 13-year career with Bayern, winning multiple Champions League, Bundesliga, and German Cup titles. He also left an indelible mark on the international stage, securing World Cup victories both as a player and a coach with Germany. The project, supported by Beckenbauer's family in Bayern Munich, is anticipated to be completed in 18 months, with fan contributions welcomed. And that's all at this hour, but before we go, we take a look at some of our top stories. Protesters accuse Primary Election Committee of partiality in Ondo State, calls for cancellation. President Tinubu to open African Counter-Terrorism Summit on Monday. We also told you that hundreds protest in Niger as they call for immediate exit of US military. You can send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number and email on your screen. Do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. And you can also watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, StarTimes channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Lekon Onobanjo.